You want to talk about white privilege? I was born dirt poor. Roaches in our food, mattresses on the floor, eviction notices taped to the doors, kind of poor. My parents, their side hustle was beating me and my siblings bloody. I missed more meals than I can count. When we did eat, it was ramen, canned foods, or whatever we could steal from the gas station. There were 8 of us kids. Don't come at me like I grew up in some quiet backwoods town either. We weren't hearing deer rifles, we were hearing 9mm and Glocks on a nightly basis. Not because we were hunting, because we were dodging stray bullets in the inner city. I had a baby as a teenager, thought maybe I could break the cycle, went to college, flunked out quick. Life was swinging before I even had a chance to plant my feet. Then the military came knocking, promised me structure, a future, and a way out. What I got? Another flavor of hell. Straight out of basic, they shipped me to Afghanistan. 19 years old, couldn't buy a beer back home, but I could carry a rifle, kick indoors, and watch friends die in pieces. I came home to a wife who had cheated on me while I deployed, ended in divorce, missed my baby's first steps, first words, first everything. I got the title Dad, but only for 2 days every other week when the courts allowed me. So I drank, I numbed it out, I drowned it in alcohol and women, hopped from job to job, security, government contracts, even worked with the feds for a minute, but it all fell apart. I ended up homeless, ashamed, alone, and broken. Now, I've been sober for 4 years, been through more therapy than most folks can stomach, read hundreds of books, and here's what I figured out. As bad as I have had it, if I was black, I probably wouldn't have survived it. That ain't an opinion, that's truth. Black Americans make up 13% of the population, but 38% of the prison population. 1 in 3 black boys born today, they're expected to end up behind bars. That ain't by accident, that is policy. That's centuries of systemic racism passed off as justice. The 13th Amendment did not abolish slavery, it rebranded it. It says slavery is legal as punishment for a crime. That's why we got corporations making billions off of prison labor while folks inside earn cents an hour if they're lucky. That clause was written to target black Americans, and it's still doing exactly that. Now I run an organization called West Virginia Fights Back. We feed people, we take care of people. No strings, no red tape, no begging for scraps. We take care of our own because the government won't. My dream? A Fights Back chapter in every damn state. Abolish the prison industrial complex. Burn the cage down. Build something real in its place. Fred Hampton said, you can jail a revolutionary, but you cannot jail the revolution. This is not about shame. This is about responsibility. If you've had the privilege of not being targeted by the system, you've got the duty to help tear it down.
Government assistance was made for white people. The fact that the programs were made in like 1935, like in the 1930s, says it all right there, given the fact that black people were not even considered people under the law at that time. But I've really been doing some more research and reading, and I read an article and they were talking about how like up until like the 60s or 70s, black people really could not qualify for government assistance. And that is absolutely disheartening, being that now it hasn't even been 100 years later that black people are now the face of all racial stereotypes regarding government assistance in Section 8. Meanwhile, these same programs were never even made for us. Meanwhile, black people had to jump through hoops to get qualified. Meanwhile, people talk about black fathers not being in the home, and these same government institutions were not wanting the men to be there. Like, what the fuck?
So I posted about white folks on food stamps, and one thing I kept seeing was that welfare was created for white people. I knew that it was created during the New Deal, so I did some more research because I didn't really know the whole story, and I thank you guys for responding and helping me learn stuff. So during the Great Depression is when we saw the beginning of things like Social Security, unemployment insurance. But here's the kicker. When Franklin Roosevelt built those programs, he had to make deals with Southern Democrats in Congress, the same folks who were big fans of Jim Crow, to get the support of these racist white Southern politicians. The programs were designed to exclude farm workers, domestic workers, jobs held overwhelmingly by Black, Latino, and Indigenous people. So right from the start, Black and brown families were pushed out of benefits so that white people could get them. Then we move forward to the 1960s, and there's this war on poverty. It finally opened up welfare programs more broadly, and that's when food stamps became permanent. Well, permanent, we don't know what Trump's going to do to them, but they lasted a long time. And guess what? The minute more Black and brown families started accessing this help, the politics shifted. Welfare got a new image and a new target. By the 1980s and 90s, with Ronald Reagan and his gang, they pushed the welfare queen myth. That's a racist dog whistle meant to turn public opinion against safety nets by blaming Black women for poverty that white policies created. That's the truth, you guys. So yes, welfare was built for white people, and when others finally got in the door, they tried to burn the house down. If you want to blame the right people, you got to get curious.
Poor white Americans are in shock right now. They can't believe that Black people, after everything, are surviving while they are the ones struggling, depending on welfare. Yeah, for years, the history and the story in America has been this. Black people are poor, Black people are lazy, Black people are on welfare, Black people, Black people, Black people. That's the stereotype. But now the roles are flipping. White poverty is rising and Black folks are showing resilience. Yeah, Black folks are showing resilience. That's why so many white Americans are upset. It doesn't fit the story they have been told. Yeah, let's break this down because this is about history, survival, and truth. Let's get into it.
Facts. In 1935, Social Security was invented by Franklin D. Roosevelt. 85 to 90% of Black families were excluded because they excluded major categories for workmanship in agriculture and domestic, and that's what Black families made up of. So white families were able to experience wealth through Social Security, through savings for their retirement and building wealth through Social Security, whilst they had a 15-year head start on Black families because Blacks weren't able to get those programs until 1950. They weren't able to get those benefits. And in 1964, the SNAP was invented, and when white people were on SNAP in 1964, they were known as falling on hard times. But whenever Black women or Black families went on SNAP, they were considered lazy. Even the President of the United States, Ronald Reagan, called Black women welfare queens.
White foreigners are the reasons you're even competing for jobs. You're competing for health care. You're competing for safety. You don't care about foreigners. What you care about is that these foreigners are Black, and so that they must go so that white people can see you. Forgetting that those same white people you don't care about are in this country illegally, collapsing our economy. Through drugs, through them being fugitives, through them making illegal money that's not taxed. The same white people go to Nigeria, open Woolworths. The only reason Woolworths collapsed in Nigeria, it is because they're trying to sell them a brand at ridiculous prices like they're doing here. Nigerians saw through that nonsense and they failed, dismally. Same as Mr. Price when they sell them outdated clothes. But it can work here with you so that you can take what's left of them for credit and pay high ridiculous costs for that. It works with you. It's always been them. Always, it's been them.
It's only the 4th day of Black History Month, y'all, and I'm already pissed. Let's talk about this article. This is from Bloomberg, y'all. It will take Black Americans 320 years to catch up to white neighbors. It will take more than 3 centuries for Black Americans to achieve the same quality of life as their white neighbors, after the racial gap widened in more than half the country in the past decade. The 320 years is in rural counties like in Caddo Parish, Louisiana, and in more urban areas like New York and San Francisco, it's around 160 years. Only 48% of U.S. counties reduced the racial gap in the past decade. No U.S. county with a significant Black population has achieved parity, and the 37 that are close to it house just 0.1% of the total U.S. Black population. The study assumes that results for white residents will remain at today's levels, but notes that those estimates are conservative because their conditions are likely to improve over time. So we're seeing the quality of life decreasing for Black people in this country and the quality of life improving for white people in this country. Noted. They analyzed 25 metrics related to the quality of life, including rates of poverty and food insecurity, job opportunities, life expectancy, and the incarceration rate across the U.S. from megacities to rural areas. And the report highlights that a number of solutions can be used to help bridge the gap, including affordable housing in mixed income areas, health insurance for U.S. residents without coverage, and the expansion of high quality early education programs. I'm upset for so many reasons. Obviously, the first is the fact that that gap even exists, period. But also, like, during our month of Black History Month, how could you come so close but be so far? In this article, obviously the article is reporting on what's actually in that results from McKinsey, and I'm going to go and actually read that to try to see what they say. But the fact that slavery, Jim Crow, discrimination, like, how is that not mentioned in the article as the cause for this gap? Like, how can you talk about a symptom but not talk about the cause of the symptom? And it's just so crazy to me because, like, okay, we've made some progress in the sense that, like, for many years they would have never made an article like this. But now you know what the issue is and you're not actually doing anything to solve the problem. And to me, that's worse than saying we're just going to ignore it, period. Because you know what's going on. But now what's the next step? Like, let's stop talking about it and let's start actually doing them actions and not just acknowledging the fact that we know that these things will improve people's lives, but actually doing the things to improve people's lives. This is exactly why I started my page and I make videos like this, because I'm ready to hold corporate America, the finance industry, and the business industry accountable, okay? Y'all say that you want diversity, you say that you want to see improvements, okay, so let's do the work. And the issue is that a lot of times they're not willing to go as far as they need to go. They just want to do a little bit and not do the whole thing. So I'm here saying it's time to step up. And in every place that I'm in, I will be holding people accountable to actually do the steps that will lead to actual change and improvement. I'm sure that y'all could tell, like, I'm very riled up. Like, I didn't even plan on making a video today, but I saw that article and I read it and it just upset me so much that I was like, I need to speak on this right now. I would love to hear any of y'all's takes in the comments. As always, thank you for tuning in. And if you're interested in more conversations around business, finance, and investing, give me a follow and watch my previous videos. Okay, bye. Also, happy Black History Month. I love us for real.
For decades, politicians painted the picture that welfare is a Black problem. They used terms like welfare queens. They made it sound like only Black families depended on government help, and a lot of poor white Americans believed that. Yeah, a lot of them believed that. But here is the truth. Statistics show that most welfare recipients in America have always been white. Surprised? You shouldn't be, because there are more poor white people in raw numbers than poor Black people. Yeah. The problem isn't color, it's poverty. But racism twisted the picture, making one group the face of struggle while hiding the reality of another one. Yeah, it was hiding the reality of another group. Now, fast forward to today, inflation is high, jobs don't pay enough. Healthcare is expensive. And guess what? Poor white Americans are lining up for the same help they used to criticize. Oh my God. This is unbelievable. And here is the twist. They are looking around and realizing black people are not suffering the way they expected. Many black families have learned to survive through generations of hardship, slavery, segregation, redlining, discrimination. Oh, they breed resilience. They know how to make a dollar stretch. Yeah. So now poor white families, many for the first time, are feeling the sting of poverty, and they don't like it. Not because poverty is easy, it's never easy, but because they never thought it would happen to them. Yeah, this is all they thought. Let's be real. Black communities have carried struggle on their backs for centuries. White America often looked away or worse, blamed them for being poor. But now the shoe is on the other foot. What happens when the system that ignored black pain starts ignoring white pain too? What happens? Some white folks are angry not just at the system, but at black people for not being at the bottom anymore. They are thinking, wait, we are supposed to be above them. That's the ugly truth of white supremacy. It promised protection from poverty, but poverty doesn't care about skin color. And now we are seeing history repeat itself. The suffering that was once seen as a black problem is becoming an American problem. Yeah, this moment should teach us something powerful. Survival skills matter. Black people have been forced to adapt, to resist, to survive with less for hundreds of years. That's why in today's hard times, many are finding ways to keep going, while poor white America is struggling to adjust. Yeah, white America is struggling to adjust. But instead of seeing this as a lesson, some are filled with jealousy and anger. They ask, why are black people not suffering like us? What? You have been suffering for years, my friend. And the answer is simple, because black people already survived what you're just starting to go through. That's the simple answer. And when you've been through fire, you know how to walk through smoke. So here is the bottom line. Poverty is not a black issue. It's not a white issue. It's a system issue. If poor white Americans stop blaming black people and instead start demanding real change with them, imagine how much power the people would have. Imagine that. This would be so amazing. Yeah, but as long as they are shocked that black folks are surviving, instead of learning from it, they will stay stuck. Yeah, they will stay stuck. So what do you think? Should poor whites and poor blacks join forces to fight the system together? Or will jealousy and stereotypes keep us divided forever? Drop your thoughts in the comments as usual, because this conversation is bigger than just welfare. It's about who survives, who struggles, and who learns from history. Yeah. So thank you so much for watching. Catch you next time. Bye.